the fact that I saw these two actually training, and I'm like, what is going? I mean, it just feels.
Well, they probably train anyway in that type of world.
Zuckerberg,
definitely.
Yeah, but I bet Elon works out like. I mean, what else are the rich going to do?
That's true. I've always said I'd be skinny if I was rich.
You have said that. Do you know? Oh my God!
Because I'd get somebody to come to me each day.
Let me say this about you. I Kelly cursed you today.
Oh God, my heart feels weird. I wondered. It started feeling weird about 5:45.
You don't know the half of it, Biggie.
I said to Chris,
It's not your heart this time.
Oh God.
I said to Chris Demm, you walked by, but my headphones were on today. But I heard you walk by, and I said, is Biggie here? And he said, yeah, he walked by. And I said, I'm so proud of my dear friend, my best friend, because he's intermittent fasting and has been doing it, a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
and
I really like it.
And I said to Chris Demm, Biggie tells me, because Biggie and I have private conversations when this show ends. I always say, when the show ends, immediately, within 5 minutes, I turn to Biggie after Dave and Chris Demm leave the room, and I say, I was awful today. This was terrible.
This is the true confession segment.
I was like, oh my God, I was so bad.
You weren't that bad.
Then Biggie says, you weren't that bad. You did okay. It was
a good show.
It was a good, you did okay. And I always think,
the wheels didn't come off.
I was so terrible.
Any landing you can walk away from.
Right. Then I basically laid out on the desk.
The plane didn't crash into the mountainside.
That's right. So, I'm just basically laying here after this marathon show every day, and Biggie's like, it was okay. You did fine. And I need that.
No one lost a life.
Right. I need that pump up. And recently, Biggie was telling me he's having success with intermittent fasting. So I said to Chris Demm, I'm so proud of my dear friend Biggie, my best friend, for intermittent fasting. And I told Biggie, keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. And the moment I said it, I got a health notification on the phone.
Read the headline.
This is, within a nanosecond, it was like, bloop. Health experts say intermittent fasting may lead to type 2 diabetes.
Jeez,
the moment I said it.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well.
And then we start singing this.
Pill with a big story to tell.
My God.
Take one daily giants at each day start.
Listen to Chris Demm's admission. That little jingle there, which we hear all the time, that it's a Jardiance commercial.
For type 2?
For type 2 diabetes. And I was singing along with it.
Type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell.
Here it is. And I was singing along. At each day start. And Chris Demm said, did you know that she says at each day start? Because he had to look it up in the lyrics.
That's right. I looked up the lyrics.
I
didn't know what she was singing. I couldn't make it out.
I did. I think because we played a game with it recently, I knew she said, at each day start. Chris did, but the strange part was that he looked up the lyrics. Not to a song, but
what
to...
is that big woman singing? I need to find out.
I want to apologize to you. Kelly cursed you without knowing that I was bragging on you.
But I really like it, too.
I would do it anyway. I would do it. Come on.
What am I risking here?
Your feet?
Your feet.
Maybe that's why I'm tingling more.
Maybe so.
My eyesight's changing.
You know what? This might be one of those insider trading deals where, like, buy stock in Jardiance today.
Oh, yeah.
Or whoever the manufacturer is.
I think that's crazy.
Because Biggie be on it in 3 months.
I'd keep it up. I would absolutely keep up the, and I don't know really why they say, but one study, according to a recent study, intermittent fasting may lead to type 2 diabetes. They found that people who regularly ate breakfast after 9 and then stopped eating before 7, which is like the intermittent fast they were doing, had a 59% higher chance of getting type 2 diabetes.
Almost 2/3 of higher?
It says 59% higher rate of type 2 diabetes than those who ate breakfast at 8, lunch at noon, and dinner at 7.
I wonder how many people do that schedule.
I don't think that many.
I think a lot. Yeah. I mean, my thing is I eat from 11 to 7.
Yeah.
That's like the 8 hours.
I love it.
And
that's why I've been cheerleading for you in here to do that.
Now, it does, a lot of what it does too, I think, is I'm not gorging myself from 11 to 7. You still have to watch what you eat. And I think the time shift mentally does something where you're like, I feel like I'm not eating as much, but I think it's because I'm also more conscious of what I'm eating during that time.
Well, now what they did say was this study said if you're going to intermittent fast, unfortunately for you, it's difficult. They say eat at 7 a.m. and then stop early in the day.
Sure, I'm sure that's probably the ideal.
People are eating and then going right to bed, and that's what's leading to, you have a late dinner, and then it leads to type 2 diabetes.
I've always eaten dinner fairly early, but I have noticed it's cut me where I don't obviously have anything after 7 p.m. Like I don't have a snack. I don't have, some type of ice cream bar or something. So I think that's helping.
Good for you.
What about your social life, Biggie?
I think it's good.
What social life did I have?
How's your social life being impacted by this? I saw this reminded me of you too. I know you like those like cold brews.
Love them.
Wendy's is introducing something called the Frosty Cream Cold Brew. They're killing off their Frosty Chino, which is more ice cream. The Frosty Cream Cold Brew will be more of a coffee drink, but cold. And so it's a thinner drink.
Well, made with Frosty instead of cream?
Yeah,
well,
it's like a Frosty.
That's what the Frosty Chino was.
It was ice creamy, right?
I tried one time. Way too heavy.
You didn't like it.
Well, I mean, it was mostly the way whoever made mine made it mostly ice cream with some coffee. And that, to me, in the morning time was way too much.
This will be eat it with a spoon?
I could have. I let it melt down.
See, this will be Frosty flavored, but coffee thickness.
That's smarter.
The cold brew is what they're doing. It's what Wendy's is getting ready to do. The food news today, too, that affects me is Trader Joe's and I do go there sometimes. They're recalling some cookies that they sell. It's like a double chunk almond and chocolate cookie, which looks delicious. I've never had one. It looks really good. They say these cookies may contain rocks in their almond windmill cookie.
I thought you said rocks.
Correct.
I have a lot of questions for Trader Joe's.
They've been pulled from shelves. 2 people have come forward to say, hey, man, there's rocks in my almond windmill.
Are we sure they weren't just really super hard almonds or chocolate chunks?
Yeah, maybe that's what it was, and not really rock.
Sometimes you crack a tooth on something that's a little harder.
How does a rock...
Like a shell?
They have not elaborated.
No, and I'd like them to.
On how the rocks...
At what point along the process do the rocks get introduced into the recipe?
If you look at the sell-by dates, they need to be sold by October 17th to 21st, which is a pretty good ways out. So I guess these cookies stay good for a long time. Dark chocolate chunk almond windmill cookies.
That sounds good.
2 different flavor they do. They sound and look very good. They've now been pulled from shelves. If you bring them back to the store, you get a full refund because they might contain rocks. But again, Trader Joe's hasn't said how those rocks might have gotten in there. That's a really weird thing to be recalled for. Here's the whole point about Dave and Wheel of Fortune and all that. Now, I was watching Wheel of Fortune last night. I do think that Ryan Seacrest is a perfect replacement for Pat Sajak. But then I read today that 5 recent Jeopardy champions, and Dave watched Jeopardy all the time, 5 recent Jeopardy champions will skip the Tournament of Champions in solidarity with striking writers from television. You know, the writers are on strike, the actors are on strike. But Jeopardy goes on because, all the questions have already been written?
That's not the way I read that story. My understanding is that the Jeopardy writers had banked so many shows.
Aha. Okay.
Now they're out.
Okay, so the Jeopardy writers
we're
are
in summer rerun season. The next new batch of shows would have been the Tournament of Champions, and that may not happen.
Oh, I see. Okay. But it says here, the headline is 5 Jeopardy champions say we'll skip Tournament of Champions in solidarity with striking writers. Are they going to have the Tournament of Champions somehow anyway with different writers or just people?
Scabs?
I mean, to tell the truth, I think Ken Jennings could write the whole thing. I really do.
Probably.
He's so smart. And I mean, how long do you think it would take him to write one game? I mean, that's a lot of questions.
It would take a couple of hours.
I do too.
A whole day.
To write one with his brain?
You got to come up with all the categories, all the clues.
Well, okay. How long does it? You're really smart, and Ken Jennings is really smart. How long does it take you to write a Put Up or Shut Up rock and roll trivia game?
25 minutes.
Okay, me too. It takes me 20 minutes.
But that's only 10 questions.
How many questions are in Jeopardy?
What is it?
A lot more.
No, but
50?
it's 50.
Yeah.
Plus the final?
It's 51 questions. So my point, and they also have to be really intricate.
Yeah.
I think Jennings himself could write a game in 2 to 3 hours. So I think I think 15 hours work for Jennings gives you a week. So if he put in like 3
You're trying to
work
make
days,
him work harder and be a scab.
Yeah. I'm trying to make Ken Jennings work harder and be a scab.
Scab Jennings.
And I want him to come up with every single question, every single clue that goes into Jeopardy. And I think he could do it because he's so smart. He could probably come up. I bet he could do the first 3 of each category without even looking them up. Then he can start like going on the internet. And
but the key to Jeopardy is the cleverness of the writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think
the clues.
Yeah, but I think he can do that.
There's knowing and writing are 2 different things.
Oh, yes, I agree. But he could probably get some of his friends together at his house. So let's write these things.
Oh, see, that's what you're picturing.
Scab party.
Let's do a scab party.
Don't tell anyone I'm here.
I mean, the truth is he's kind of already a scab because Mayim Bialik, who's the other host of Jeopardy, said in solidarity with Rise, I'm out. And Ken Jennings took over and is hosting the game right now until they get to summer reruns. Which I'm surprised they're not in already because he's hosting for a while.
I think they just started this week.
So he hosted the last few games, so he scabbed it anyway. So I just say to Jennings, step up, scab it up, get a little extra money, and let's write this.
Shakespeare for 100. Let's go.
Doesn't seem to matter though because at least 5 of the winners have said, "I'm not doing this. I wouldn't do it anyway. If they come up and cobble something together, I'm not going to do it." Stand in solidarity with the writers. It's interesting, it seems, that they get to know, if they're there a while, like the champions who are on Tournament Champions would be, they seem to get to know the people who run the show, like the writers and all that. I remember when... I
wonder how much they interact with the writers, because if television movies are to be believed...
They shouldn't
The late-night writers, for instance, they're not all... Half of them aren't even on set.
Yeah, they shouldn't...
During a Letterman show or a Conan show.
The contestants should never even see the writers, in my opinion, because they're writing the game. That this is important. They shouldn't interact with the writers. But remember when Jeopardy hired the new host after Alex Trebek? He had been a producer on the show, and he was gone after about a week because of something he said on a podcast years earlier. Well, who was the guy who won so many games in a row? Holzhauer, James Holzhauer, tweeted... X'd. Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead when they fired him. He knew him really well because he was on there for 40 nights, But that's a producer. That's different than a writer. The writer should
be... the executive producer's in every meeting, every show.
He's probably out there on the set, on the scene, on the stage.
I forgot about that guy.
Yeah,
How quickly he fades. Remember, he was great, too.
Michael Richards.
Yeah.
He's a great host.
Great host. Did a very nice job. They've had 3 hosts since Alex Trebek died. See the difference between Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, in my opinion. Jeopardy's handled it all wrong. A, they started with that guy, and then they had to get rid of him. B, they've replaced him with 2 hosts, which they don't need. Wheel of Fortune said, let's go get the quintessential host, Ryan Seacrest.
We're not even going to do a search.
Yeah.
I'm going to interview anybody.
We're not going to even pretend. And we're going to name it a year before Sajak leaves. It's like we've got it covered. We're not going to have a bunch of fill-ins and, go through and who do you want. We're going to name Ryan Seacrest.
Alex died.
He did, but he was going to retire anyway. He was 80. And I think they should have known, look, when his health takes a turn or when he retires, let's have a person ready to go. As Wheel of Fortune did.
Yeah.
They did. Sajak tells them, they go with the nobody in America other than Dave Aiken questions the choice. He's there.
It actually just made sense.
There it is.